For a year now, we've been reporting on questionable spending by a South suburban politician named Tiffany Henyard. But we only knew half the story.
Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton, Illinois, has become one of the most controversial political figures in the country, with even her own supporters beginning to turn against her amid mounting allegations of corruption, lavish spending, and questionable dealings. Some critics have labeled her the most corrupt politician in America, a reputation that has gained traction as the scandals surrounding her continue to grow. Henyard initially rose to power in 2020 on promises of positive change, but her tenure quickly spiraled into chaos, marred by accusations of financial mismanagement, cronyism, and unethical behavior. What once seemed like a promising political career has been overshadowed by reports of corrupt practices and abuse of power. Among the most alarming allegations is Henyard's misuse of taxpayer funds for luxury expenses, including extravagant travel and high-end purchases, even as Dalton struggles with a deepening financial crisis. The town's multi-million-dollar deficit has worsened under her leadership, with critics pointing to reckless budgetary decisions and a lack of accountability. One of the most glaring examples of mismanagement is a significant overtime pay increase granted to police officers, raising suspicions of backdoor deals and favoritism. Critics argue that Henyard's administration has been characterized by unchecked spending and self-serving decisions, with little transparency or regard for the town's financial health. Her leadership style has also drawn intense criticism. Described by some as authoritarian, Henyard has been accused of using intimidation tactics and retaliating against those who oppose her. The growing backlash from both residents and local officials has led to increasing calls for investigations into her conduct. As pressure builds and investigations into her administration gain momentum, Henyard finds herself at the center of a crumbling political empire. Even some of her strongest allies have distanced themselves from her, while frustrated residents, alarmed by the town's deteriorating condition, are demanding accountability. The question remains whether Henyard can escape the consequences of her actions, or if her political downfall is inevitable. What's clear is that Dalton is in turmoil, and all eyes are on Tiffany Henyard as the truth behind her controversial leadership continues to unravel.
Those officers to be on the street fighting crime, and instead we have several officers that are riding around.
Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton, Illinois, remains at the center of controversy as new scandals continue to emerge almost weekly, cementing her status as one of the most polarizing political figures in America. One of the most outrageous examples of her questionable leadership came with her proposal to slash the salary of any future mayor, but only if she loses re-election. This move seemed like a backup plan, acknowledging the potential for her political downfall while attempting to secure a safety net for herself. However, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Henyard's lavish spending habits have sparked outrage among Dalton's residents. Reports have revealed that she spent tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars on extravagant trips, luxury accommodations, and first-class flights, all while the town struggles with a crippling financial crisis. In just 5 months, Henyard reportedly amassed a small fortune in expenses, booking stays at upscale hotels such as the Four Seasons in Atlanta and the Marriott Marquis in Times Square. Despite these official trips, there has been no tangible benefit for the town. Henyard's administration has refused to provide any transparency or justification for these expenses, maintaining a suspicious silence. Chris Gonzalez, a town trustee, has been trying for months to obtain answers about the mayor's excessive spending, but Henyard has shown no willingness to explain her actions to the very people who elected her. Her dismissive attitude has only fueled suspicions that she believes herself to be above accountability. The mismanagement of Dalton's police department under Henyard's leadership has added another layer of scandal. One of the most troubling issues is the alleged abuse of overtime payments. Some officers are reportedly earning more from overtime than their base salaries, with one officer allegedly receiving over $100,000 in overtime alone, more than doubling his regular pay. These excessive payouts have fueled accusations of fraud, favoritism, and misuse of taxpayer money, with critics questioning whether this money is being funneled for political loyalty or personal gain. Adding to the controversy is Henyard's unwavering loyalty to her inner circle, particularly her top ally, Deputy Police Chief Leo Lacy. Lacy, one of Henyard's strongest supporters, has a criminal record that includes charges of bankruptcy, fraud, a revelation that has cast an even darker shadow over Henyard's administration. Despite these serious allegations, Henyard has stood by Lacey, reinforcing accusations of cronyism and political favoritism. The situation escalated further when Henyard defied a town board vote to fire Lacey by reinstating him to his position. Lacey has continued to show up for work as if nothing happened, deepening the rift between Henyard and the town board. Rather than backing down in the face of growing backlash, Henyard has doubled down, portraying herself as a victim of an unfair and racially motivated attack. In her speeches, she has framed her critics as people trying to undermine her leadership because of her race and political stance. However, this narrative has done little to calm the growing frustration among Dalton residents, who see it as a calculated attempt to avoid accountability. The fallout from Lacey's reinstatement has further damaged Henyard's reputation. Even former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot has weighed in on the situation. The Dalton board hired Lightfoot to investigate the town's finances, and her preliminary findings have painted a damning picture of Henyard's leadership. Lightfoot's investigation revealed a disturbing pattern of financial mismanagement under Henyard, with the town now drowning in millions of dollars of debt. Even more troubling are the unreported expenses and questionable credit card transactions linked to Henyard's office, with no legitimate connection to government operations. As the financial crisis deepens, public frustration with Henyard's leadership has reached a boiling point. Residents are becoming increasingly disillusioned with a local government they perceive as corrupt, opaque, and disconnected from their needs. Henyard's refusal to take responsibility for the town's problems, instead choosing to shift blame and paint herself as a victim, has left many questioning whether she is capable of leading Dalton out of its current crisis. Despite the overwhelming evidence of mismanagement and growing public outcry, Henyard remains defiant, convinced that she is being unfairly targeted. Yet as Dalton continues to grapple with financial and political dysfunction, it is becoming increasingly clear that the situation is more than just a political dispute. It's a glaring sign of dysfunction within Dalton's local government. Whether Henyard will face the consequences of her actions or manage to maneuver her way out of trouble remains to be seen. What is certain, however, is that the people of Dalton and the nation
make a one-day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon. And the main thing is,
one of the most shocking revelations to emerge recently is that $1,500 was charged to Amazon in a single day with no explanation for where the money went. This glaring, unaccounted-for expense has raised serious concerns, adding to the mounting scrutiny surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard's financial practices. Despite the growing backlash, Henyard continues to put on a confident front, even referring to herself as a super mayor and boasting about taxpayer-funded events, including the disastrous $85,000 party that ended up being a massive failure. Fox 32 has investigated Henyard's use of police security details for these events, revealing that officers were pulled off the streets to provide security, costing taxpayers thousands of dollars. The event in question featured an R&B singer, Kylie, and rapper Jay Holiday, but hardly anyone showed up. Imagine spending that much money on a party that no one attended. It's almost too ridiculous to believe. But it's yet another example of how out of touch Henyard seems to be with the people she's supposed to serve. Frustration among Dalton residents has reached a boiling point. Public meetings have become increasingly chaotic, with angry residents openly demanding Henyard's resignation. At one recent meeting, a resident shouted, "You've done nothing. You don't care about anybody but yourself." The public's growing anger underscores a deep sense of betrayal and abandonment, as Henyard has yet to address the serious concerns about her financial mismanagement or her failure to serve the community's basic needs. What's even more alarming is the growing shift among Henyard's former supporters. Carmen Carrile, once one of Henyard's closest allies, has become one of her most vocal critics. In a bold and public statement during a packed board meeting, Carrile accused Henyard of manipulating employees, vendors, and even residents to maintain her grip on power. Carrile called Henyard's leadership unethical and predatory. And she said it directly to Henyard's face. This wasn't some quiet behind-the-scenes betrayal. It was a direct and very public rebuke. Carile's accusations carry significant weight because they highlight a growing pattern of self-serving behavior that many are now starting to recognize. The defection of such a key figure from Henyard's inner circle signals that her political base is crumbling and that her attempts to salvage her reputation are becoming increasingly unconvincing. The ongoing scandals, combined with public outrage and the loss of key allies, have created a perfect storm for Henyard. It's hard to see how she can weather this crisis, especially after alienating so many supporters, wasting taxpayer dollars on frivolous events, and failing to address the financial and social needs of Dalton's residents. The increasingly hostile public meetings serve as a stark reminder of how much trust Henyard has lost from the very people who elected her. As the pressure continues to mount, it seems inevitable that the situation will reach a breaking point. Whether Henyard can continue to deflect criticism, or whether the tide will finally push her out of office remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the people of Dalton have had enough.
Has investigated Henyard's use of a police security detail, taking officers off the street and costing thousands.
Carman Karile isn't the only one speaking out against Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Dalton trustees have begun pushing for new ordinances aimed at limiting Henyard's power, and their efforts are becoming more aggressive as investigations into her financial mismanagement intensify. There's even talk of potential legal action, which spells serious trouble for the embattled mayor. While Henyard continues to try to control the board's actions, the trustees are pushing back harder than ever, determined to uncover the full extent of the damage left in her wake. As if things weren't already bad enough, rumors are now circulating about secret meetings between Henyard and certain business owners in Dalton. Allegedly, Henyard has been offering special treatment, including fast permit approvals and relaxed regulations, in exchange for financial support for her re-election campaign. While no concrete evidence has emerged yet, these whispers have only deepened the community's distrust of Henyard, reinforcing the growing belief that she's more interested in securing her political future than actually serving the people of Dalton. Then there's the issue of Henyard's personal spending. Sources close to the investigation claim that Henyard has been using taxpayer money not only for extravagant trips, but also for personal shopping sprees, reportedly including designer clothing and luxury furniture. If these claims are substantiated, Henyard could face serious legal consequences, potentially including embezzlement charges. Unsurprisingly, calls for her resignation are growing louder by the day. Residents are frustrated with watching their mayor live lavishly while Dalton's financial situation worsens. The public's frustration became even more palpable after Henyard suddenly lost her personal security detail when her spending was frozen. Her once massive police entourage was cut off after funds were frozen, including her government-issued credit cards. One online commenter quipped, "It's hilarious that Henyard no longer has a security team because her funds were frozen. It's like her house of cards is finally collapsing." Another commenter was more blunt. "Does she even watch herself in these videos? She's so corrupt it's like she doesn't know right from wrong. A sixth grader would do a better job as mayor." These comments reflect the growing anger among Dalton's residents, who feel that Henyard's leadership has become a liability. With the FBI involved, Lori Lightfoot's ongoing financial probe, and increasing pressure from public officials demanding more transparency, Henyard's position has never been more precarious. It's hard to see how she can hold on much longer with mounting opposition from all sides. Despite the overwhelming pressure, Henyard remains defiant. She has refused to cooperate with investigators and continues to insist that she is the target of a politically motivated smear campaign. But at this point, her attempts to deflect blame are becoming less convincing by the day. The real question now is, what's next for Henyard? Will the ongoing investigations lead to criminal charges? Will the board succeed in reining her in with new ordinances, or will she somehow manage to hold on to her position despite the growing opposition? One thing is certain: the drama in Dalton is far from over. Residents are demanding accountability, and the stakes have never been higher. Henyard's ability to survive this scandal will likely determine the future of her political career. Stay tuned, because it's only a matter of time before the next big scandal breaks.